The scientist who tricked people with a milkshake. Imagine walking into a laboratory. A researcher hands you a milkshake. You drink it. A few minutes later, your body begins reacting to what you just consumed. Your stomach adjusts. Hormones shift. Your brain receives signals. Everything seems perfectly normal, except for one small problem. The milkshake wasn't what you thought it was. In fact, the most important ingredient may not have been inside the cup at all. It may have been inside your head. And that leads to one of the strangest questions in modern science. How much of what your body experiences comes from reality? And how much comes from what you expect reality to be? This sounds like the beginning of a self-help seminar run by a man named Chad who owns 6 motivational bracelets. It is not. This is a real scientific mystery. And it begins with something that should not work. A sugar pill. You have probably heard of the placebo effect. A patient receives a treatment that contains no active medicine, no painkiller, no miracle drug, no secret ingredient, just a harmless pill. Yet sometimes, the patient improves anyway. Pain decreases, symptoms ease, recovery appears faster. For decades, researchers treated this effect as an obstacle, an annoying complication that made drug testing harder. If people can improve after taking medicine that isn't medicine, how do you know whether a treatment actually works? But over time, some scientists started asking a different question. Instead of treating the placebo effect as noise, what if it was a clue? What if it was revealing something important about the relationship between the brain and the body? One researcher became particularly interested in that possibility. Her name was Alia Crum, and she wondered whether expectations might influence more than medicine. Could expectations influence everyday life? Could they influence exercise? Could they influence stress? Could they even influence food? At first glance, that sounds ridiculous. Food is chemistry. Calories are calories. Protein is protein. Surely your stomach doesn't care about your opinions. Or does it? To investigate this question, Crum and her colleagues designed an experiment that has become one of the most famous studies in the psychology of eating. Participants arrived and received a milkshake. Nothing unusual there. Except the researchers secretly created 2 different stories around the exact same drink. One group was shown a label describing an indulgent, rich milkshake, containing 620 calories, the kind of dessert that arrives with absolutely no concern for your future decisions. The other group saw a label describing a sensible, low-calorie health shake, a responsible drink, the sort of beverage that probably owns a yoga mat. But both groups received the same milkshake. Same ingredients, same calories, same drink. Only the story changed. The researchers then measured levels of a hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin is often called the hunger hormone. Generally speaking, ghrelin rises when you are hungry and falls after eating. The researchers expected identical drinks to produce similar responses. Instead, they observed something surprising. Participants who believed they had consumed the indulgent shake showed a much steeper drop in ghrelin. Participants who believed they had consumed the sensible shake showed a smaller change. The finding attracted enormous attention, not because it proved thoughts magically control biology. It didn't. But because it suggested expectations might influence physiological responses more than scientists previously realized. Suddenly, the question was no longer whether expectations matter. The question became how much they matter. And that is where the story gets even stranger. A few years earlier, Crum had run another experiment. This one involved hotel housekeepers. Now, if you've ever cleaned a hotel room, you know it is not exactly a sedentary activity. Beds are lifted, bathrooms are scrubbed, vacuums are pushed, towels are carried. Many housekeepers spend their entire day moving. Yet when researchers surveyed them, a surprising number did not consider themselves physically active. Exercise, in their minds, was something that happened in a gym, not at work. So Crum divided the workers into 2 groups. One group was informed that their daily tasks already met recommended exercise guidelines. The other group received no such information. Then the researchers waited. Nobody changed jobs. Nobody received a fitness program. Nobody joined a marathon. The only thing that changed was what one group believed about the work they were already doing. Several weeks later, the researchers measured them again. The results were unexpected. The informed group showed improvements in several health-related measures, including body weight and blood pressure. The study became one of the most discussed examples of what researchers now call a mindset effect. Not because thoughts replaced exercise. The housekeepers were already exercising. The work was real. The effort was real. But their interpretation of the effort had changed. And somehow, that appeared to matter. At this point, it is tempting to leap to a dramatic conclusion. Thoughts control reality. Mind over matter. Believe anything and your body obeys. Unfortunately, science has a habit of ruining perfectly good headlines, because other researchers started investigating these ideas too, and the results became more complicated. Some studies found evidence supporting expectation effects. Others found smaller effects. Some found effects on behavior rather than physiology. For example, several experiments suggest that expectations can influence how hungry people feel, how satisfied they feel, or how much they eat later. But when scientists look at biological markers, the picture becomes less clear. Some findings replicate, others do not. The milkshake study remains influential, but researchers continue debating exactly what it means, which is often how real science works. Not with a dramatic announcement followed by universal agreement, but with years of arguments, new experiments, and gradual refinement. The story becomes even more interesting when we step back and ask why expectations might matter at all. Consider a haunted house. You walk through a dark corridor. A door creaks open. Something moves in the shadows. Your heart rate increases. Your palms sweat. Stress hormones rise. Your body reacts. Yet nothing dangerous has actually happened. Your expectations shaped your response. The brain constantly predicts what is about to occur. In many ways, prediction is one of its most important jobs. Rather than waiting for events to happen, the brain builds models of reality and updates them as new information arrives. Scientists sometimes describe the brain as a prediction machine. And if that description is correct, expectations are not a minor feature. They are central to how we experience the world. Every sight, every sound, every sensation, every meal, all of it passes through a brain that is actively guessing what comes next, which raises a fascinating possibility. Perhaps our bodies are not merely responding to reality. Perhaps they are responding to reality as interpreted by the brain. That does not mean expectations override physics. You cannot believe your way through a brick wall. You cannot imagine yourself into Olympic fitness while sitting on a couch eating biscuits. Reality still matters, a great deal, but expectations may influence how the brain and body respond to reality, and that possibility has implications far beyond milkshakes. Researchers are investigating mindset effects in areas ranging from stress to aging to physical performance. Some findings appear robust, others remain controversial. Many questions remain unanswered. Which brings us back to the milkshake, because the most interesting part of the story is not that scientists fooled people. Scientists fool people all the time, usually with permission forms. The interesting part is that the study exposed a gap in our understanding. We like to imagine the brain and body as separate departments. The brain thinks, the body follows orders. Simple, neat, organized. Reality appears messier than that. The conversation runs both ways. The body influences the brain influences the body, and expectations may be part of that conversation. Exactly how much influence they have is still being debated. Scientists continue studying it, testing it, arguing about it, which is good, because unanswered questions are where the most interesting discoveries usually hide. And somewhere among those unanswered questions sits a milkshake. Two labels, one identical drink, and a result that continues to make researchers scratch their heads. Not because it proved the mind controls the body, but because it hinted that the relationship between them may be far stranger than we once believed. If you enjoyed this strange little journey, subscribe and help us reach 1 million curious minds. There are many more weird facts hiding in plain sight, and we intend to bother all of them.